Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we need to dive into Tellarknights. They just got confirmed for Terminal World 3. I'm super excited about it, even though I knew that this archetype got a pretty okay wave of support 2.5 years ago, 4 new cards. I still didn't discount them as an option here, and Konami proved me right on that, so that feels good. But yeah, this is a really interesting archetype. This is an archetype that has a lot of nostalgia for players. Back in, I think, 2015-ish, 10 years ago, this archetype was a pretty legit competitive threat. It was a very cool mid-range deck. And since then, it's really not gotten much love until it got love 2.5 years ago. And even then, it kind of flopped because it feels like they kind of mis-executed the support, at least in my opinion. It felt like it didn't connect the way some of us had kind of hoped that it would. Anyway, we're gonna go over and through all that stuff today. We're gonna go through what they got 2.5 years ago. We're gonna go over what this archetype has at its disposal right now, and what I want to see from 5 brand new cards. We're confirmed getting 5 new cards here. What I want them to focus on, with the new support, and what direction I think the deck should be able to take going forward. So starting off here, they got a 4 wave card 2.5 years ago. 4 wave support, I guess. They got Tellarknight Liren here. They got Alteran. They got Constellar Tellarknights, a continuous spell, and this Exceed monster. The breadwinner of these 4 cards is absolutely the new Exceed. This card is really, really good. On Exceed summon, he can add a Tellarknight and or a Constellar from your grave back to your hand just for free on summon, which is very good for follow-up. And even turn 1, like making this and just getting cards back is quite nice. But the better effect to me is that you can banish a Tellarknight or Constellar from your hand or deck and then detach a material to then copy that monster's effect when it's normal summoned. And if you don't know, this archetype is filled with just nothing but monsters in the main deck that just do something on summon. You got one that searches a monster. You got one that searches a spell. You got one that reborns a monster. You got one that foolishes a monster. So you have all the classic effects that we know from monsters when they're summoned at your disposal. And the cool thing that this also bypasses hard once per turns. If you've already used Deneb, which is the monster searcher, just to get to this guy, you can banish another copy of Deneb and get another search because it's a different card using that effect. It's not a hard once per turn restriction in play anymore. So he's definitely the breadwinner. He is a phenomenal card. He's normally the first Exceed you make, I think, when you're playing this deck. Because he kind of gets things going for you, and he's a really good card at that. So I like this card a lot. The spell is probably the second best card to me. I like it a lot as well. On activation, it just summons a Tellarknight or Constellar from hand or grave. That's solid. On top of that, you can also target a Constellar or Tellarknight Exceed you control and rank up or down, I think, with a different rank. Oh, you can just summon any different ranked Constellar or Tellarknight monster, and they have some really useful tools with that. So yeah, the fact that on summon it's just like a reborn or pulling stuff out of the hand, and then on top of that it's letting you rank up. This is a really useful card, and then turn after turn you can just keep using that rank up effect. It's a really solid card. Next up for me is probably Liren. This card's okay. This is the card I actually had the most problems with because as much as the spell and the new monster are very useful, this card is so awkward to me because if you read it, its extension effect says if a Tellarknight or Constellar is normal summoned, you can special summon this card. Unfortunately, that means if you search this card off of something like Deneb, this card has already missed its chance to trigger. It wouldn't trigger on search and then summon, unfortunately. And then on normal or special, you can add a Tellarknight spell from deck to hand. So that's good, right? Obviously. But it took the opportunity for this deck to make Deneb a 1-card rank 4 and took it away. And now we kind of sit here with this deck doesn't have a 1-card rank 4 now. There is technically, but it's really bad. I think one of the Constellar monsters is technically a 1-card full combo. The problem is that card's the worst 1-card combo. It's like a level 3, so even if you have an extender, you're not getting to a rank 4 if that card's getting negated. It requires you to play a hard brick in the deck. It's bad. You can't play that card in 2025 and feel good about it. And so this card can be a normal summon. That's okay. The problem is we don't have the best spells for it to be a normal summon. Skybridge is interesting. But because a monster doesn't end up engraved, you're like, what are we summoning? Altair, but there's no target. You're summoning Deneb, but Deneb's not a 1-card combo. So where are we going with that? If we got a new main deck monster that made Skybridge go like turn into a 1-card combo, that's interesting. I just didn't like that this card had to already be in hand for it to extend post your normal summon. It killed Deneb as a starter, basically. So my hope would be that maybe we just need a better extender. So it could even be as simple as a Tellarknight that just says, if you control a Tellarknight, special this from the hand, and it's a level 4, that legitimately could be enough because it turns Deneb into a 1-card starter. It means Liren can go Liren into Skybridge, into Deneb, into the 4, into the jump, and boom, you're into a rank 4. Like, it connects the tissue. Right now, it's awkward. It's really awkward in the deck, the way it has to be functioning right now. And the last card from the new card is Altair. And I won't go as in-depth with the old cards, but I just want to go through these because this is the most recent wave, and I want to talk about what I liked, what's missing, all that stuff. Altairin's the least impressive card here, but it is still an interesting card. He's just, the problem is he's kind of a brick. On summon, you can target cards on the field up to the number of light and dark exceeds you control, destroy them. Okay, that's not bad. And then if a Tellarknight or Constellar monster is special summoned, you can special summon this from the graveyard. That's the awkward part about this card. He's just a little bit of a brick. You want to get him in rotation, so that way if you're quick summoning on the opponent's turn, this card's coming out and popping cards, playing into a board, getting this in rotation, reborning, getting a pop, all that, being another 4 for materials and all that. He's a clear, like at most one of. There's even a world where you don't play him because you don't want to play the brick, but he's fine. He's so okay, at the end of the day. But yeah, those are the 4 cards from 2.5 years ago. Not bad. It almost feels like a 4-card wave that could have been in a terminal world, right? 4 cards, pretty solid, but not quite enough. And there's some awkward connective tissue in the main deck. Just feels a little weird. So now let's get into the cards that the deck already has, right? Deneb. On summon, she searches a monster. Cool. Altair. On summon, he reborns a Tellarknight. Cool. Unukalhai on summon sends a Tellarknight from deck to grave. Vega on summons pulls one out of the hand, potentially one that won't stay in the deck, but like some of these main deck monsters might be one of, so there could be awkward scenarios where like if you draw them, Vega could still be an important card where like if you're summoning from deck but you drew the one of that you would want to summon, you can go Vega and then Vega pull them out of the hand. We'll see. She could be a one of. This is an interesting card too. This is a Constellar card that came out prior to the Tellarknight support, I'm pretty sure. It's an interesting card. If you control a Constellar specifically, and that's something that's interesting with this card, you can special summon it from the hand, and then during your main phase, you can add a Constellar spell or trap from deck to hand. That includes the new spell that we saw from 2.5 years ago, because it is Constellar Tellarknights. But that's really the only good target. That's what makes this card also weird. Maybe we'll see with the new wave that like there'll be a new Constellar spell or trap that gives this card a little extra versatility. We'll see, but it's pretty good. Doesn't need your normal 7 jumps out of the hand and searches. It's not a bad card. The awkward part for this card is, one, it does not count as a Tellarknight, so any of your exceeds that require a Tellarknight, this card cannot be part of that. On top of that, he needs you to have a Constellar. So for example, if I start with Deneb and Deneb gets negated, this card can't jump on the field. You're stuck. You have to get to at least a rank 4 to summon our boy Constellar Caduceus, or you have to have started with like Liren or Altairin because they both count as Constellar monsters. So it's a good card in theory. It's just, it feels like there could be opportunities for this to feel like in the right scenario, it could be an awesome extender that totally wins us the game by playing through interaction. And there could also be scenarios where, like, because you just opened this with Deneb, this card is dead if Deneb gets negated. So it's a little bit weird like that. From there, Skybridge. I like this card a lot. It's a quick play. It basically shuffles a Tellarknight from your field back into the deck to summon a different name. Because they all trigger on summon, you're like trading one for one, but then you're getting a plus ideally off the new one. And then because it's a quick play, you could potentially dodge the imperms, the veilers of the world as well, which is kind of cool. I don't think this card to be that relevant unless we got a spell and trap searcher that like really needed this card to connect into something else. But still, it's an interesting card for sure. Genesis, this is kind of like a mass back row removal, but it's searchable, so I threw it in here. Stellar Nova Alpha is a really interesting conversation. This card used to be a staple 3 of the 2015 versions of Tellarknights, and now it doesn't see play at all. You know why? Not searchable. you have our new monster searches Tellarknight spells. Well, this is not a Tellarknight spell, but technically a Teller spell, a Teller trap. So it's just simply not searchable, which is awkward. Because I like this card. It's literally like an Omni Negate, but you send a Tellarknight monster you control the graveyard to use it, and then you draw a card once it all resolves. So like you still kind of break even on the interaction, but it's it's a really cool card, and a lot of the Tellarknights float. So like you'll tribute a Tellarknight Exceed that floats while drawing a card, and then you end up like plussing in the long run anyway. It's a really cool idea. It's just not searchable. So maybe there's a world with the new support, this becomes a searchable one of, right? For like a backbone part of your end board that's really safe, and you're just having an Omni backbone added to your end board. But until that comes true, it's a weird card. It's kind of on the outside looking in right now. All right, into the extra deck, you have Bat-Lamias. Bat-Lamias basically allows us to rank up into our other Tellarknight monsters for not 3 materials on field. It takes two Tellarknights and a discard. Kind of can make things work sometimes when they otherwise wouldn't. Ptolemaeus came off the ban list a couple of years ago around the time this new support came out. Cool card. Allows us to make some really cool exceeds that the deck otherwise can't make. But it's a nice card you can go into sometimes when kind of everything breaks down. You're just like, oh, I just kind of have 2 rank 4s and I'm going first and I got hand trapped a bunch. I'll just make Ptolemaeus. He'll get me into one solid interaction on the opponent's turn. Deltaros can kind of be abused. He's not once per turn. He's scary because he can just keep popping stuff on your field and you can keep popping him, I'm sorry, and then summoning a new Tellarknight from hand or deck over and over again. So he's a little scary in that regard, but I like him. I don't want him to facilitate like out of this world combos, but he might. We'll see. Tellarknight Trevere, like this card a lot as well. He's just such a cool tool for a deck that to have like a going second tool like this. On summon, he bounces every card on the field except for himself. That's crazy. And the fact that you can make him off of like Bat-Lamias makes him a little easier to make, even though he normally requires 3 materials. And then when he's sent to grave, he can like reborn a Tellarknight. So you reborn a Deneb and search a follow-up monster. You reborn an Altair and reborn a monster. And then you just plus a bunch on the end phase or whatever. It's a really cool card. I like him. This is the scariest card the deck has, bar none. This card is a non-once per turn dark monster negate and destroy. So I just think any given form, I mean, right now, right, you could negate 3 different Mitsurugi cards with this. You could negate 3 different Orcus cards with this, 3 different Malice cards with this. Dark is just always going to be a part of competitive play. It's the most common attribute in Yu-Gi-Oh! Even generic dark cards like could come into play here. Bestials, you're just stopping with this if you make this early enough and they're holding on to them, whatever. This card is crazy. This card's legitimately crazy. It also stops your opponent from sending cards straight from the deck to the graveyard, and any card that returns a card from the graveyard to the hand. It's insane. This card is out of this world crazy. This deck can make it very easy and often. Definitely one to watch out for. And Pleiades, quick effect bounce. He's solid. You'll make him in random scenarios where like he's kind of all you can make, but a quick effect bounce with other stuff can actually be solid. And then Ptolemy M7. This card allows you to just add any monster. You can target any monster on field or grave and return it to the hand. So you can get back hand traps, potentially weird stuff. You can also just pretty easily just overlay this in this deck. So yeah, kind of a cool card in this deck, but it's not going to come up all that often, but very specific scenarios. And that's everything really the deck has at its disposal at this point. Where do I land on it? I feel like I'm pretty happy with the extra deck, especially with the addition of this guy. Knowing that this guy exists now for this deck, he is your kind of like first rank 4 you make to get your plays going, right? Your opponent's going to try to negate him, but if you've gone through him, maybe even having access to the spell already, you're going to then use the spell to rank up off of him, and like you're going to play through stuff fairly okay there. I feel really satisfied, I feel like, with the extra deck. We're going to be able to make Pleiades. We're going to be able to make potentially Infinities, and in the right matchups, Constellar Diamond's going to be crazy and stuff like that. There are going to be Ptolemaeus options. There are going to be like plenty of stuff available to us in the extra deck already. They're not going to give us a 5-card wave without an extra deck monster, I would think. So we're going to get 1, maybe even 2 new extra deck Exceeds, I would expect. But that's honestly not what I'm worried about at this point. The worry I have is leaving Constellar Sheraton out of the discussion, the monster I said earlier that's like a terrible one card starter. You can't be playing it. What do we do? The deck doesn't have its own starters, really. One card starters, at least. And in modern day Yu-Gi-Oh, you can't be playing 2-card combo deck that loses to one hand trap. That is a recipe for disaster. So the biggest thing to me, the number one takeaway I have is connect our monsters. Make it so that the Neb at least is a 1-card rank 4. Make it so that Lirin is a 1-card rank 4. And to be fair, I guess if you make Deneb a 1-card rank 4, you by default are making Lirin a 1-card rank 4 because, like I said earlier, you would go Lirin for Skybridge, Skybridge for Deneb, Deneb Search and Extender, boom, rank 4. I don't want to have to jump through that many hoops. I'd like us to also get maybe a good starter spell, and maybe it's a search spell that just searches a monster, but it's like if Deneb is a starter and Lirin's a starter, then a search spell is a starter by default, right? And they're all warriors, so Rhoda works into that equation and adding additional copies of starters to the deck. That's the number one thing to me is consistency and durability are the biggest questions I have. I don't even feel like if I play this deck, I don't want to abuse the Deltaros shenanigans. I know there's ways for you to do crazy Deltaros combos. I'll be happy with just making like an okay board, but as long as my deck is good at doing it through 1 or 2 hand traps, that's what matters to me. That's really what matters. So that's the biggest thing to me. We need increased flexibility, consistency, durability in the main deck. So my guess would hopefully be like, I don't know, can we get 3 combined cards, like 1 really good extender added to the main deck that maybe just says something as simple as if you have a Tellarknight on field, this card jumps on the field. That even a card that bad, like that's not a great quality card for modern day standards, but because of just how this deck is designed, that card would slot in so seamlessly. And then give it a bonus effect. You know what I mean? Give it some bonus. I mean, they wouldn't just make that, I don't think. So give it some bonus effects to make it a little bit better than just that. But that is like one of the most quintessential things the deck needs so hard. Like I said, consistency in a spell, maybe even a Skybridge type card, like just an E-Telly type card. It could even lock you into Constellar / Tellarknights because this deck has the ability to like quick rank up on the opponent's turn with stuff like Ptolemaeus. Like even that makes me wonder, like, you know, a 1-turn lock, but we're going to be able to Ptolemaeus on the opponent's turn into something else. Like, and we have enough options anyway in Archetype. So I'm just like not that scared of that. Is there any world where we get the ability to quick effect make Trevere? We talked about Trevere, but Trevere is on Exceed Summon, and the deck just really hasn't been given a way to like quick effect make it. Do they give us maybe a trap that's like searchable? And it's a Tellarknight Speller Trap, and it becomes now searchable, and it allows us to quick effect rank up, rank down, whatever. And now we're making Trevere on the opponent's turn to bounce the entire board. That would be really interesting. Really, really interesting. So that's kind of my biggest takeaway. There's some small things here and there that they can do that would be fun. Quick effect Trevere. A new extra deck tool that allows us to like that has another like rank up ability that's like fun, or maybe going second tool, something. But the biggest thing to me is that connective tissue in the main deck. It feels very disconnected right now, and they need to tie it all together. They need our cards to flow into each other because you're just playing like weird. You just have bricks on bricks right now in the main deck, and I don't like it. So that's where I want to see them go with it. Hopefully this made a bunch of sense. I know I'm kind of rambling. Hopefully was structured enough. If you don't know much about Tellarknights, hopefully this gave you a good idea of where they're at, what they need, and all that from there. I'm out of here for today. Thank you so much for watching, as always, guys. I'll make a video about X-Saber soon. It'll be a lot less in-depth because X-Saber has a lot less playable cards, but it doesn't mean they don't have any playable cards. So we'll talk about that pretty soon. But thank you so much for tuning in. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one down the line, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace.